Hey, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm talking about how to have fun sober, even if you don't really believe that it's possible. So I was thinking about how I want to do this video, and I'm not going to start off by telling you all the reasons why having fun sober is way better than drinking, because the chances are you're watching this because you don't believe it yet. You're having a lot of resistance to it. So I want to meet you where you're at and start from there and kind of work our way over. Because I feel like you might be over here, I'm over here. I want to meet you here so we can get you over here, maybe, or like a little bit closer. And so I want to make sense of where you are now and maybe why you have a lot of resistance to believing that you can actually have fun without drinking. And I tell my clients this all the time. If you're resisting believing something new, or maybe you know logically that it could be like life could be fun without alcohol, but you just can't quite get there. We want to make it make sense. I'm always telling them, okay, well, before we shift, let's make it make sense, because there's always a good reason why we believe something. And so there are some good reasons. So I want to start with that first. Our brain always wants to be right. It always wants to be right. And so whatever it believes, it will work very hard to find proof of that thing being true. So right now, if you don't believe that you can have fun without alcohol, your brain is going to work very hard to find proof that that belief is true. That yes, in fact, life is boring without it. That you cannot have fun sober. So that's what your brain is doing right now. It's scanning your life and your environment to find proof of that, which is not helpful because you're trying to believe the opposite so that you can get out of the cycle and be free and not deal with all the negative consequences of drinking. So that's what's happening right now. You also probably have proof in the past of being sober in a social environment or an environment where you would normally drink. Maybe it was at a concert, a barbecue, a holiday, a festival, I don't know, a work event. And for whatever reason, you weren't drinking. And your experience of that was that it was not fun. It wasn't fun. And so your brain has proof of that. And that's what you know. So it's kind of hard to believe new things and change the way that you think about something if you have hard evidence of the opposite being true. So maybe you pause for a minute and think, yeah, was there a time when I was a sober driver and I just did not have a lot of fun at that thing? Okay, all right. So this makes sense why I have some resistance. In addition to that, we also have to look at the science of alcohol and how it affects our brain. Because alcohol is a man-made substance, it's a human-made substance, it's artificial, it is not something that is natural. When humans get a hold of something that they can manipulate, they often want the result of that thing to be bigger, greater than anything natural, because that's what sells. That's what's so enticing about it. That's what's so cool. And what humans have done is they have made the dopamine hits that our brain gets, that like big euphoric feeling when we drink, surpass anything natural that we could experience. Meaning things that create dopamine in our mind, like having sex, laughing, reading a book, eating a yummy meal, like anything like that that's not like processed. Alcohol far surpasses that level of pleasure and enjoyment. So you're right there, that because of the way that alcohol was made and the way that it affects our brain and our body, when we compare it to something natural or being sober, there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. It's way up here and something more natural is down here. And it kind of varies from thing to thing, but it's up here. Now talk about cocaine, meth, heroin, we're way, 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 way up here. The dopamine hits are way more intense because these are all man-made things. So there's some truth to that. And I think it's important to know that and make sense of maybe why you haven't felt that level of fun or enjoyment without alcohol in situations where you would normally drink. Okay, so that's what's kind of going on internally. Another reason, and I hope that this is helpful just to make sense of it, not to convince you that you should keep drinking, but I want to, again, meet you where you're at, make sense of it so that you don't feel shame around, oh, why can't I get there? Everyone else who's sober seems to believe that, you know, it is more fun without alcohol and I just can't get there. And then what we do is we layer emotions and we layer frustration, then shame, then anger, and then disappointment, and then defeat, and then we shut down and then we don't even try the thing. So again, that's why I'm kind of going through this. Another thing that happens when we drink is that alcohol will turn down the volume on your prefrontal cortex. So it's not working properly, meaning you can't make decisions as efficiently and effectively as you normally would. Maybe you say things that you wouldn't normally say if you were sober. That's why people often get into cars and they drive under the influence when they know in their sober mind that's not safe, that's not a good decision. But alcohol inhibits that part of our brain, and so we can't make decisions very clearly. In addition to that, because it does that, it will turn down the volume on that chatter, that inner chatter, that self-critic. So if you are someone like myself that really, really, really struggled with social anxiety and talking to people in social settings where I didn't really know them very well. Sometimes still get a little bit of that anxiety. It's not as bad as it was before at all, but that's what alcohol really helped me with. Like when I went away to college and everyone was going to all these parties, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to go to these parties and talk to all these guys and these new people? Well, I figured out how to do it. You just drink a lot and then you don't have that inner chatter, and I didn't feel so self-conscious and critical of myself. And so alcohol will do that, which will, you know, lower inhibitions, lower that inner critic or turn down the volume on it. And then we're able to just be who we are, just be a little bit more carefree. Okay. So those are some things that contribute to why you might have resistance and why in the past you may have not had as much fun. And so you're struggling to get to the other side to believe something different and ultimately get out of the cycle. And it is very possible to have fun even though those things are happening. Why? When it comes to those high levels of dopamine that we get from alcohol, when we spend more time away from alcohol, we get further and further away from that time when we got those high dopamine hits. So you get further and further away. Now, I've been sober for over 9 years. So it's been 9 years of remembering what that was like to experience that high dopamine hit in my brain from alcohol. So your brain remembers it less and less because it's not as relevant. It didn't just happen. So over time, you create a new baseline for excitement and fun and laughter and euphoria. Suddenly, those high levels of dopamine that you get from something natural become that ceiling for you. It's not alcohol that's like way up here. And if you're someone that's kind of in and out of the cycle, well, that higher level of dopamine from alcohol is much more relevant because it's happening once a week or every couple of days. So again, it's hard to believe something different if you're constantly getting that dopamine hit. But that's how things become fun, because that memory is not as relevant. And so you rewire your experience and your mind and your nervous system to remember something more natural and different. And the second part of this, before we get into actually like how to have fun, another thing to think about and you need to get very honest with yourself. How fun is drinking in your life right now? Is it really that fun? My guess is probably no. There was a time when it was fun, which is why you kept doing it. But there's a high chance that you've gotten to this place where it's no longer fun anymore. Why? Because you are experiencing the negative consequences from drinking. Meaning, you're waking up the next day hungover. You're waking up the next day with so much anxiety that maybe you can't even function, or it just puts a damper on your day. It makes the day so much harder. Maybe you're even feeling feelings of depression. That happens. Thank you, Dynorphin. Maybe you are tired of having to apologize to people for your actions. Maybe you are tired of dealing with the aftermath of getting in an argument with your spouse the night before over something that wasn't that big of a deal, but because you were drinking, it kind of blew up. Maybe you are tired of skipping workouts and you're noticing, I'm not reaching my health goals. You're tired of disappointing yourself. You are tired of waking up, maybe not even knowing really what happened the night before, and feeling like you're having to walk on eggshells and just pray and hope that you didn't say anything crazy, but maybe you get that look from your partner or your friends and they're like, and then you just know, and you get that sinking feeling of like, oh my gosh, oh God, what did I say? What did I do? And then you have to ask and then go through that whole conversation and say you're sorry for like the 20th time. Maybe you are not sleeping well. You're experiencing insomnia. You're getting terrible nights of sleep and it's affecting everything. You're not reaching your goals. Maybe you have career goals and you just can't trust yourself to go after them because drinking has gotten in the way and it's slowing you down. You're just not operating at the level that you know that you could. So we have to get really honest. How fun is drinking right now? If we're fighting so hard to believe that sobriety just isn't fun, well, how fun is your reality right now? I know for me, it got to a point where it wasn't fun anymore. I couldn't trust myself to drink around other people because I hated waking up and not knowing what I said or did. I was tired of apologizing because people just kind of got to the point where they were just tired of hearing sorry, because sorry really meant nothing, because I was just going to go and do it again. I was tired myself of skipping workouts, breaking promises to myself. There was so much that I was tired of. And I also wasn't ready to let go of drinking, so then I started drinking by myself. That is not fun. That is not fun. And so you have to get really honest. And so many of us are like, oh yeah, but like, I know, but it's fun when I am drinking. Okay, but here's the thing, and I tell my clients this all the time. We might be a hell yes for the first part of drinking, for that initial euphoria, for that initial high, that relaxation, that, okay, the inner critic went to sleep and now I can have fun and laugh. But we're not a hell yes for everything that comes after, and it's all a package deal. You can't say yes to one part, but then hate the other, because that's the part that's making you miserable. And for some of you, this second part, the negative consequences, have become so impactful in such a negative way in your life that when you drink, you're anticipating all that yucky stuff happening that you almost can't even enjoy yourself when you're drinking, because you know what's coming. And I know for me, sometimes I would drink even more because I'm like, oh God, like that inner voice that's telling me what I already know, like won't stop and it's ruining my time. And so I'd want to drink more, and then more bad things would happen because I would drink too much. So is it really fun right now? And the answer is probably no. And so the good news is, when you stop drinking, all that stuff, those negative consequences from drinking, pretty much go away, because alcohol is the one creating it. And I won't say that everything will go away, but it'll go away or be reduced significantly. Okay, so those are a couple pieces. Now to the third part, how to have fun. For me, I can honestly say I have a lot more fun sober than I did drinking. Now, were there some fun times when I was drinking? Absolutely. I look back at my college days and I'm like, we have some crazy stories. It was a lot of fun. And that just wasn't what my relationship with alcohol turned into later. It just wasn't. That was a moment in time, and I have to accept it as a moment in time. And now, life is a lot more fun and enjoyable for a few reasons. One, I'm not dealing with everything that I just talked about in those first two parts. I, in my life, never, ever, ever want to experience the negative consequences of alcohol again, because it gave me so much anxiety. It made me feel so bad. And I know I have 9 years worth of proof of living my life without those things in it. And I can honestly say it is a million times better. Is my life perfect? Duh, no, it's not. Okay, life happens and I'm not dealing with those problems. And I never want to deal with them again. So life is just more fun and enjoyable without those things. And when I go to social events, when I travel, I've traveled to, I think it's like 17 countries at this point, sober. That's just countries. That's not cities and domestic things that I've done, or even local things like camping. And knowing that I can be present with what I'm doing and trust myself in what I'm doing, that is huge, because I couldn't trust myself when I was drinking. I didn't know what was going to happen towards the end. I didn't know if I was going to have fun. Everything that I was doing was so focused around drinking that I didn't get to enjoy restaurants and food and exploring cities and being in conversation with different people and enjoying the sights. I couldn't really be present with that because I was so focused on my next drink. It just ran my life. Like, let's think about it. That's just kind of how it goes. Even if the drinking isn't that severe, we're kind of always anticipating, like, when am I going to be able to drink? When am I going to be able to when am I going to be able to drink? When am I going to be able to have that fun? And it becomes very important in ways that sometimes we don't even realize. And being able to just plan stuff and trust myself to go and do it and execute it and show up on time most of the time. Be in control of what I'm saying and things that I share and how I show up. That is fun. Like, that in itself is like such a solid foundation for me to be able to have fun in my life. Also, I'm 9 years away from that artificial dopamine hit. So my ceiling and like my baseline has reconfigured itself. And so I can enjoy things that are natural. And that is fun to me. I get together with my friends, family. Like I said, I go on vacation. I travel a lot. Even simple things. Like, I would say I enjoy the mundane more than anything else. Meaning, I actually enjoy like cooking, going on walks, waking up in the morning with my coffee, just finding simple pleasures in the day that would have never occurred to me to enjoy or acknowledge that were pleasurable before, because I'm comparing the mundane, or like, which I call it the mundane because it's like, well, yeah, it doesn't like look like much, but when you experience it, it's like, oh yeah, this is so nice and so enjoyable. But again, I had something to compare it to, which was these high levels of dopamine, like these artificial levels of dopamine. So it's like, you can't compare the two, right? But I just get to be more present in my life and not have to worry about all the negative consequences that come with alcohol. I think that's like one of the biggest things for me. Now, I've been to all-inclusive resorts in Mexico. I have been to tropical places where, drinking is pretty heavy. I have been to concerts. Like, I've done tons of stuff that would include alcohol. I think I've even gone wine tasting with my friends sober. And what I've noticed about that is it was never the alcohol that was fun. It was the thing that I was doing or the people that I was with. So you really have to get curious and start to dissect these things that I'm doing. Are they really fun because of alcohol, or are they fun because of the people that I'm with or the circumstances? And like even food, like, is this food just really good on its own, but I'm giving alcohol credit for it? Like, let's not give alcohol so much credit. Now, on the other hand, another thing that I want to touch on is that part of this journey is identifying what is really fun to you. And you actually might find that certain things that you thought were fun and that you enjoyed are actually not fun. They are only fun because alcohol would mask the boring and uninteresting parts of it. It made it tolerable. That is huge. When I work with my clients, really identifying what is fun to them, exploring it, workshopping it, this is all an experiment to figure out, what you enjoy without alcohol, figuring out, who you are, and really creating the person that you want to be without alcohol. And part of that journey is figuring out what is actually so boring and uninteresting to you, and owning that. And I'll say, I've never really talked about this publicly, but I am just in the process of having this come to Jesus moment with myself, where I just realized I don't like the beach. I think it's so boring. You might think I'm absolutely crazy. People are like, oh, I could live on the beach. I'm feel slightly activated just thinking about it, because I'm so sensitive to light and texture, and the sand on my feet, whoa, my skin, oh my God. Don't even get me started with then having salt water on me. And then it's windy and my hair gets this really gross texture. And then the sun is always beaming, and I swear I get the worst sunburns no matter how much sunscreen I put on. I always need an umbrella. No one wants the umbrella, but I'm here with the umbrella because I just need to have the sun blocked a little bit. It's really hard work to get to where you want to go on the beach, carrying all your shit. And then it's if I try and eat, I get sand in it, and I'm just oh my God, give me away. Give me away. But guess what? It was really fun when I was drinking, because then I could numb out the weird texture of the sand on my skin and the salt water. And then I wasn't really as present for when we'd have to go drive in the car and drive a really long way to get home. And I'm just sitting with all these yucky textures on me, and I'm sunburned and starving because I couldn't eat because sand got all over my shit. And I share this because so many people love the beach that I feel the weirdest freaking person in the world for honestly saying I don't love it. When people are I just want to go to the beach and be there all day, and I'm I don't want to go. No, I'll go for an hour, and then I'm taking my own car, or I'm calling myself a Lyft. But what we can do, I share this because we will beat ourselves up and feel shame around not having fun doing things that especially people drinking are doing and think are fun. We're well, I'm sober. I'm not drinking. This actually isn't fun. There are lots of things that I've explored, just even dive bars or being in small little towns where there's not a lot to do. Some things we just have to get honest with ourselves and say, this is boring. This is not fun for me. And that's okay. Okay, that's a little hack. Add that on. And that's okay. And it may not feel really great because you might have proof that a lot of other people like this, like me in the beach, but I don't love it. I just, this is my experience. I don't love it. There are some times where I do, but it's not my favorite thing. But put alcohol in me to numb out all of the yuckiness that I don't like about it, and yeah, it'd probably be fine. But I do need an umbrella. So part of this journey is really owning what's not fun for you, what's boring, what's not your cup of tea. Or maybe it's trying it a few times and just getting used to experiencing it without alcohol and giving yourself a chance. Okay, last thing that I will say, really managing your mind and your expectations around doing things sober for the first time. You are going to probably feel like a very wobbly, fragile deer, baby deer. and you're not going to know what you're doing, and you're going to have a lot of mental chatter, and you're going to feel nervous, and you're going to feel weird and awkward, and that's okay. You are right on time. You're right on time. Don't make yourself wrong for that. We've got to manage our mind and emotions around things that we do for the first time without alcohol. You're probably not going to be very good at it. You're probably not going to feel super calm and relaxed, and that is okay. And I think it's very important to preface that so that when you have that experience, you're not like, oh my God, something has totally gone wrong. No. Sobriety is like your new sport. We know that when we try sports, when we start playing sports for the first time, we're going to be really bad. But we have to keep showing up to practice to get better and better at it. Same with sobriety. Keep going to social events. Keep going to things so that you can get better at them sober. So that you can get to a point where you can relax and not be so in your head. It's a lot of what I do with my clients, learning to manage their mind and their emotions and regulate their nervous system so they can go out in the world and do things that they want to do sober and actually have a good time. But no, it's not going to feel great at first. And there might be times where, I would say it's like 50-50 with my clients. 50% of the time my clients are like, yeah, it wasn't that great. Okay, perfect. Right on time. Let's work on your mind and your emotions around it. Sometimes clients will come and say, you know what? That wedding that I went to was actually so fun and I didn't drink at all. Like, amazing. And there will be things that you come out of the gate and you're like, actually, like I had a great time. It was great. Awesome. Nothing has gone wrong there either. That wasn't just a fluke. You may have genuinely had fun without. I've had plenty of those experiences where out of the gate, I had fun without alcohol immediately. And that's awesome. Let's take that as a win and then keep doing those things. So we've really got to manage our mind and our expectations around it. And when we think that something should be fun and we should do it perfectly right away, we are just punching ourselves in the face. We are not being kind to ourselves and giving ourselves grace. So I want to normalize that for you as well. So in summary, if you're having resistance to it, it makes sense for all the reasons that I said. We have to manage our mind and our emotions and our expectations around trying new things for the first time without alcohol. And it's okay if they're not fun. A huge part of what allows things to be fun is that you no longer have all those negative, yucky consequences that came with drinking. Simply because you're not drinking anymore, none of that is stuff that you have to deal with. You're going to find that some things are boring and you get to just own that. And that's okay. So go out and experiment, workshop things, figure out, be willing to just get out there and try. So if you found this video to be supportive and this is making sense to you, it's resonating with you, and maybe you're thinking, okay, yeah, I kind of see what the issue is. I have not managed my expectations, or maybe I have a lot of mind drama around having fun, or maybe I just can't seem to get my anxiety, social anxiety, and just nervous system under control when I'm in situations where I want to have fun, then that is where coaching can be very, very supportive. That's a lot of what I work on with my clients. Or maybe you're at the point where you're like, I just don't even know what would be fun, and I just feel so nervous about going out there and exploring things. That's another thing that I do with my clients. Again, we're here to create an alcohol-free life that feels good for you, and that takes exploration and trial and error. And I can guarantee you it's much more fun and supportive, and you're going to get to where you want to go a lot faster when you have support. So you're welcome to book a consultation call with me. I have the link in the description, and we'll talk more about where you are now, where you want to be, and how I can support you in getting to create this fun, alcohol-free life that you love.